Previously on the European LCS.
Mr. Rolls will flash himself. He has to turn back around and have a go at Selfie and then Cullen. Almost knocked it down. Wow, last second Valkyrie. And the Super Hot Crew managing to go 2 for 1.
Sven's actually looking for the fight. If Jess is coming in as well.
Well, Destiny is up. There's the gate. Instant solid blade. And look at the damage. Wow, with the right of a cane.
There's the shockwave. Chuck's going to go down the opponent. Oh, he's got away. He's got alive. Somehow out of that one.
First kill secured by Reckless. We do see that's a double kill as he sidesteps the cocoon. Looking for the triple. Reckless has got a triple. He's looking for one shot. That's the quantum. He's looking for 5. Towers down the back line. Reckless makes the fire attack. He gets it.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Week 10 of the European League of Legends Championship Series, coming to you live from our studios here in Cologne, Germany. I am Lee D-Man Smith, and I'm joined by Martin DeFischer once again, as we only have 2 weeks of the regular season play remaining in this summer split.
And even though the playoffs are right around the corner, no one's position has been set in stone, meaning this week's matches, every single one is key for the teams here in the LCS.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at where the teams currently stand. Up at the top of the table, well, it's Alliance and Fnatic. They have now qualified for the playoffs and are looking to secure them top 2 spots with at least 3 games separating them from the rest of the pack. Next, of course, is Millennium and the Super Hot Crew. They are tied for 3rd place with 12 wins apiece and hoping to solidify their position in the top half of the table with this week's matches, while SK, well, they are 1 single match behind them in 5th place.
And then Rocket is in 6th spot, which would grant them a trip to the playoffs as the lowest seed, but they could still easily climb higher as they're only 2 games out of the 3rd place. At the very bottom of the European LCS are the Copenhagen Wolves and Gambit. And this week's matches are absolutely crucial, with the possibility that both teams will be eliminated from the playoffs hunt by the end of the week if they don't pick up any wins.
Well, today's matches will kick off with ROC versus Gambit, a crucial game for those 2 teams. That's going to be followed by Millennium, who will take on the Copenhagen Wolves.
And then we'll have a top-of-the-table clash between Fnatic and Alliance, and SK Gaming will square off against the Super Hot Crew. And after today's LCS matches, we'll hand it off to Freak and Cyrene for the European Challenger Series semifinals, where H2K Gaming will take on SK Gaming Prime in a best-of-3.
And now, with so much on the line, let's take a look at the players we should be keeping an eye on this week. DeFischer, I know you're particularly impressed with Creaton's performance last week.
He was absolutely fantastic. I mean, he picked up Corki and he went 16-2 and 16 in 2 games. Very, very impressive. And for me, Creaton, as long as he can keep proving to me he's one of the best AD carries in Europe, then I feel like Millennium actually has a good shot at going towards World Championship because he's such an important member for them.
Well, for me, it's the new man in for Copenhagen Wolves, Soren. Every time the Wolves need to find a replacement for Kautard, they look towards a Soren. First, of course, it was Soren Bjerg, who you guys may well know as Bjergsen. This time around, well, it's just Soren, plain old Soren. He looked good in his first week, but can he consistently perform without Orianna?
So, a player who can really perform consistently is Selfie, who's going to be our next player to watch here. He's a great player in terms of mechanical play, but we still see way too many mistakes from him. His decision-making is lackluster, and Super Hot Crew as a team, they doesn't seem to have anyone to help him avoid position mistakes or wrong engages. If they can fix their loose cannon, then they have a great mid laner with a lot of potential for the future.
Well, in the top lane, it's the man from Alliance. He's been playing extremely well, Wicked, in that top lane, especially lately on Gragas. He has successfully adapted to the meta changes each patch this season.
And now, last team to watch, we're gonna say, is a team who didn't really adapt well enough to the patches. SK Gaming, not really sure what's going on here. They lost the last 4 games they played and look like a team just keeps going down and down and down. They returned to their old playstyle last week where Freddy, he picked Nidalee, he split pushed, but it still didn't work. They didn't pick up any wins, and it appears the teams have figured out SK Gaming, and we have to see something special if they want to regain the position as one of the best teams here in Europe.
And remember, of course, you guys at home can find the stats for these players, as well as the schedule information, VODs, recaps, and much more over at lolesports.com. You'll also be able to let us know which team you think will win each of today's matches.
Just click on schedule and get a thumbs up to your choice. And you can also find out how to join us here in the studio to watch these teams play in person. Just click tickets for all the details.
Just a couple of weeks left here in Cologne, of course, and now we want to hear your thoughts. Since 4.12 has just been enabled this week, we want to know which European LCS player or team do you think adapts to the new patches the fastest and why?
So I feel like Alliance are very fast when it comes to champions. But the playstyle we saw the last few weeks, they had some issues adapting to the patch here. So it's very hard to say here in Europe. There's a lot of different options, so it's going to be great to hear from you guys. And send your answers to us at lolesports and use the hashtag LCS. And then, of course, we'll read some of them later in the show.
Yes, of course. So it is time to get the first game underway. Starting off with ROC versus Gambit Gaming. Despite finishing third in the spring split, ROC began their summer run with a disastrous 1-7 record. But since they have started improving, the Polish squad hope that they can keep up their game as they head towards playoffs and earn some fans along the way.
At the start of the split, we had a huge break, 1 month.
So we went 1-7, and from that point it couldn't get worse, I think.
Alliance has been soaring. Rockets, though, they've been going in the opposite direction. They definitely don't look like the team that finished in third place in the playoffs of the spring split.
Our team have to play to be consistent.
I mimo, że mieliśmy 1-7, każdy wierzył w to, że odbijemy się od dna, no i po prostu dostaniemy się na Mistrzostwa Świata.
All right, next up, let's talk about ROC.
Right now, they have a 5-game winning streak. ROC have just found life.
It's very hard to be consistent all the time. We don't change much when we are winning all the time, and all of a sudden we are starting to losing, and we didn't change anything.
It's about the mentality, like if you know you can beat those teams because you did it in the past, then obviously you can do it.
We have to come back to the shape we show in this dominant time for us. So we are still trying to build our identity. It's our second split, so people don't know us that well.
People prefer to cheer for like Alliance, for like Fnatic, because they got the star players.
XPK himself was like not that famous before the super backdoor thingy with Kassadin, but after that action, like everyone was like, wow, this guy is actually good. And I would say that the results are really important, but you have to like outstand in some action to gain the fans.
It's just most of the Polish players never played in European teams, so they just don't know those people.
We are just 5 players that are trying their best. So in my opinion, our best shot to get fan and fan base is to actually achieve something, and the fans will come. We are trying to do like small steps. Then we can, think about playoffs and going towards.
If we want to get recognized, we should prove that we are the top team in Europe, not just the average one or the weak one. I think it's just the start. People won't believe in the weak teams, they just want to believe in winners.
Other tournaments before the LCS was just a way to go into the LCS. I had to get some experience, find some good people that I can actually make it to the LCS and then try. That's why we're all here, right? For the awards.
Well, that's why everybody is here, to get to Worlds, and some very honest words, I think, from ROC there.
It's the way we always hear them talk. They will tell you, if we are sad, we're sad. We don't believe in our skill or whatever is going on, they will tell you. And therefore, we know as well how they think as a team, and if the confidence is an issue, often when they start losing some games, it is a big issue. Need a win, and then they come back and start winning games.
We'll see how this one works out, of course. Now, these two teams have both been struggling at the start of the season. Both desperately need a win here because after each went 0-2 in a very rough week 9. Of course, Rocket hold a big advantage in the head-to-head over Gambit. They are 3-0 up in those stakes, so they will be coming into this match as the strong favorites.
Yeah, and if you do look at last week here for Rocket, they had some good moves, we have to say it, but it was just completely overshadowed by either team or individual mistakes. The early Dragon against Super Hawk Crew was a bad mistake and actually ended up losing them the entire game, 7 minutes into the game here. They've dropped down in the standings a little bit. They're now 2 wins behind Millennium and Super Hawk Crew because they lost to them last week. So they need to pick up some wins if they want to try and get towards the top spots.
And somebody that did surprise us and has surprised us many times before is Overpow. He pulled out Morgana in the mid lane this time. It wasn't quite Mordekaiser, but it was still something new.
Yeah, so the idea was to use Morgana to counter Twisted Fate and protect Celaver with this massive black shield you get when you build AP on Morgana. It did, however, mean Rocket they had 0 damage unless Celaver had a very good game and got to his late game point. He never did because Millennium actually controlled the game and the pick ended up doing nothing for Overpow. And the losses last week put some pressure on Rocket now because they haven't secured their playoff spot just yet. The Wolves, they're looking better and better, and Rocket, they need to secure 14 wins to be 100% safe in the top 6.
And for Gambit, it's time to be a little truthful, I'm afraid, because they find themselves rooted at the bottom of the table after equaling Deficio's own Copenhagen Wolves losing streak of 9 games straight back in the spring 2013.
All planned.
However, of course, they don't have a Bjergsen flying in to save the day like you did back then, and instead they are in danger of getting closer and closer to the all-time losing record that was set by Dragonborns back in that same spring. 0-13 that was. Long way to go still to get there. Now, this is the hard fact. They now only have a 0.09% chance at qualifying for 6th place playoff spot. They are a long way from the team that qualified to the World Championships for the last 2 years.
Yeah, and it didn't make it easier last week. They had probably the hardest schedule you can actually have here in Europe. They faced Fnatic and Alliance on the same week, so ended up losing both games, didn't really have much of an impact in any of the games. Diamond, he returned to the starting lineup, and like the rest of the Gambit members, he had a hard time playing here. He did pull out the Ramos, which was a fun pick, and it actually worked out really well on the start of the game, but once the team fell behind, he couldn't do anything and just ended up losing. We have to say though, if they are to win a game, it could be this one against Rocket, because Gambit as a team, they have only won games on red side in this split. And now, of course, they're red side against Rocket here. Maybe they can pull it off. I still think, as a team, Gambit should just focus on improving team synergy, coordination, get some confidence going here. Because the Wolves, while they're just a few wins ahead, I still don't think they can actually catch them.
A little bit of keyboard maintenance from Genja there. And of course, Diamond's still very popular with the crowd here. So let's check out those starting lineups for these two teams in game 1. Over on the blue side, it is Rocket. That means in the top lane, we have Xaxus, Jankos in the jungle. A very honest Overpow in that mid lane. Celaver as the AD carry and VandeR on support.
On the red side, we have Gambit Gaming with Kubon in the top lane, Diamond in the jungle, Nick as the mid laner, and of course Genja as AD carry and Eduard on support.
So as we head towards Champion Select, let's check your predictions for this match. Going to LOLesports.com, 77% of you have given it to Rocket. You know, this just shows really how far Gambit really have fallen when the new upstarts, I mean, I say new upstarts, this is the second split the Rocket have been here, and they did finish 3rd last split. But Gambit really just don't even get the fan votes anymore. The fans are starting to wean away from them.
So it's all about current results. I mean, yeah, you have your history. You can look back Gambit and Moscow 5, what they did in the past, but it doesn't matter now. It's all about who people actually think is the favorite for this game. Rocket has been winning some games lately. Gambit has been losing 9 games in a row. You have to give it to Rocket as the favorites.
Let's see how this one works out. Picks and Ban's about to get it away. It is 4.12, so remember, there's a couple of things to note. Lucian is disabled for this one. Shen is back. And of course, we saw Nidalee last week starting to be prevalent in that top lane. So what do we expect from this one?
So if we just take Genja, now you mentioned Lucian being disabled. He's played Lucian 9 games, Caitlyn 8 games, and the rest 1 game of the other AD carries here. So we could definitely see a Caitlyn ban from Rocket to take it away here and force him on something he only played once before here. But of course for Gambit, it is a pretty tough still on the red side because Kassadin is
so
open.
far, standard pick and bans, I would say. Twisted Fate and Evelyn taken away from Rocket, so still focusing on the Evelyn from Diamond. There is the standard Kassadin ban, 93.2%. No matter how many times he gets changed, he still lives in that ban cycle, generally for the red team. And of course, Lee Sin taking away both Jankos and Diamond. Good on that one. It does mean, of course, that Elise is out there as one of the popular jungle picks. I wonder if someone's going to ban that one. And Nami ban taken away from Eddie. That's a bit of a nice ban for him. And there's the Gragas taken away from Xaxus in that top lane.
So Jankos normally loves to play Elise, but we've seen a lot of different junglers here. And this has been a champion last week, which was banned very, very often. And once it was open, teams would actually lock it in. Not as a first pick, but still, here in Europe now, the mid laners really love Fist. And it's, again, Athene's got nerfed a few patches ago where the MR went down, making it easier for Fist to pick up kills on one-on-one. And he's not as affected by exhaust as an assassin like Zed is.
Well, here in Europe, of course, Fizz has been primarily played by Overpow and Kerp, of course.
Yeah.
The two mid laners. We'll see how it works out for him. We did mention the fact that Elise kind of is still in there, but it looks like Diamond is favouring maybe Kha'Zix in the jungle. Has had a slight buff to his Q, his Taste of Fear. Only a slight one, but is it going to be enough to become now a primary jungle pick?
So I don't think we're going to see too often. So it is a fine pick. It was before as well. I mean, it has its way. You just played a bit different than you did before. But the Caitlyn from Genja, no real surprise. Again, we talk about how Lucian and Caitlyn are the two main picks for him. It's not exactly a champion he's done a lot on, but same can be said for the rest of Gambit, of course. They have been losing a lot of games. It's hard to put up good numbers.
So Thresh will be locked in alongside him. That means we're going to see Eddie, the Thresh Prince, back in action. So playing in the bottom lane, they're going to have to really perform because they've had some questionable results, I think it's safe to say, over the last few weeks.
Just weird plays.
That duo lane, some very weird plays, and often giving up first blood. Of course, the man that does get a lot of first bloods is Jankos. And if he gets on that Evelyn, which is one of his favoured champions, it does work well for him. Of course, there's a Morgana again. This could be for VandeR as that support pick. But Jankos seems to be favouring towards Jarvan once again.
So it's funny with Elise.
Nope.
There's a lot of different opinions here. Most junglers still put Elise as one of the top junglers, but we still see a few leave it and say, you know what, I'd rather play Rengar or Jarvan or whatever, maybe a Rammus from Diamond. But Elise is a main pick for Jankos, and it's a pick he normally picks up first blood on here. So Gambit needs to be careful.
Well, there we go. Gambit do go with the Kha'Zix in the jungle. Something they were toying with, but they realised they don't need to first pick that one away. Ziggs, of course, also being picked up for Nick.
So Gambit here have some decent wave clear. Decent, I mean great wave clear. They have Ziggs and Caitlyn together, so they can stall the game and really go late game where both Caitlyn and Ziggs will shine. And it's going to be a top lane Maokai here.
Maokai, interesting.
Alright, so the idea behind top lane Maokai is you become insanely tanky. Like just your abilities themselves, your ulti and everything, provides a lot of tankiness. You have a lot of CC, you have a slow, you have your snare with the W to engage fights, and you're just very, very hard to kill late game. His laning phase is not the best, but he can always farm with either sapling or his Q and just manage to get all the gold he needs to get his tanky items. Rod of Ages should be first item here from Xaxus, and then full tank afterwards.
Let's have to blind pick that one in. Would we see maybe Kubon trying to counter this one? I mean, Jax is out there, a big favourite champion of his. Or would we see him just going for something for the team? What would fit right now?
So, because Gragas is banned away, I'm actually not sure what he wants to pick against Maokai here. Renekton would be able to deny him some farm in the laning phase, but when in terms of team fights, you're going to get outscaled. If he picks a Yorick here, maybe he can poke the Maokai, but remember Maokai, he will sustain pretty well. This used to be an old favorite for Kubon back in the MYM days. Not sure he's
You never know when it's Edward. You never know when it's Edward. He's just like, you're playing with the hearts. Okay, while they're deciding on that one, let's look. Of course, it's going to be Thresh Caitlyn up against a Morgana Kog'Maw.
Yeah, Morgana Kog'Maw here. Actually, Gambit Gaming, because they have Caitlyn, should be able to put a lot of pressure onto Celaver in the laning phase, but not enough to actually deny him too much farm. I don't think it's going to be too big of an issue for Rocket to deal with this dual lane. I really like the Dr. Mundo pick up here because you now have a tank against a tank. Both of them looking to do the same thing, get into late game points and just be this massive frontline tank. Very hard to deal with for both teams. Issue is for Kubon, Celaver has a lot of percent magic damage against him, and it's very hard for Kubon to actually deal with someone like Celaver in the late game team fights. Also, if there's a Blade of Rune King onto the Kog'Maw.
Fantastic stuff. Of course, Gambit, as I pointed out, they absolutely have to win this game. If they do not win this game, they are not going to make playoffs. And that is a big, big deal.
And then it's all about promotion tournament. They're just going to have to look towards it, improve as much as possible. I like how we do see some new picks from Gambit. I mean, Dr. Mundo, we haven't seen Kubon play before in the top lane. Just to see, does it work? Okay, can we stick to this one?
Well, we'll see how it works out, ladies and gentlemen. Do you guys still think ROCAT will come out on top after those picks and bans? Tweet us, #ROCWin or #GMBWin to @LOL Esports, and we'll be checking out those results as we get into the game. Something to take note of as we load this game up. There is a double teleport for ROCAT. In the mid lane, of course, we do see Overpow with that teleport on Fizz.
And we saw it last time he actually played Fizz mid. Takes a teleport. Early on, he used it just to farm in lane, go back to base once he takes too much damage, return to the laning phase. But then once he gets an item or two, once he gets some damage, he will start split pushing with this teleport here and kill you one-on-one, and then join into with the rest of the team. And Maokai as well, teleport ganks, very scary. If he goes down to this bottom lane, instant snare on to someone like Eduard or Genja, ROCAT should be able to pick up a kill and a dragon.
So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Game 1 of Week 10 about to get underway. We're almost there. The playoffs are looming over every single one of these teams, and results now seem more important than ever. Of course, all season long they're important. It all leads to this one point, and it's been Gambit that have been struggling with ROCAT with those 3 wins over them already this split. Can they make it a clean sweep? Can they go 4-0 and knock, honestly, a team that they looked up to and respected for the last 2 years? You heard interviews with Jankos talking about how he respected Diamond. It's like the legend that is. And can he surpass him? Now, I would say become the master, but that's going a little bit too deep on the old start.
Probably. But if you just look at this summer split here, Jankos has definitely been the better jungler. Again, we always talk about how he picks up so many first bloods. He's #1 in both EU and NA in terms of first bloods, and he loves to do it on Elise. And ROCAT, very standard picks for them, except for the Maokai in top lane. We often see Morgana support together with Elise jungle, because you have now Binding and Cocoon to set up easy kills, to set up picks, and then of course Overpow can just jump in, instant burst down whatever target he gets, or whatever target Jankos or VandeR can actually root.
Well, at the moment, it looks like it's going to be a standard start. We can see potential buddy system maybe, but it does seem we're going to have a 2v2 in this bottom lane. It's kind of been similar since 4.11, honestly, since those small tweaks and changes. We don't tend to see too many 2v1s anymore. VandeR comes in, gets a face full of damage from Genja as soon as he walks into that bush. For once, Eddie was not up front.
No, normally he's the guy walking in at level 1, looking to fight here, but at least now both teams know where the dual lane is, and we're going to get standard lanes. Up in this top lane, I don't think we're going to see too much action between a Dr. Mundo and a Maokai.
I want to talk about the support items, because we are seeing Eddie beginning with a Doran Shield instead of a GP5 item.
Normally we do see Relic Shield from a Thresh here, but Doran Shield, so really putting a lot of focus on combat stats from the start, and will probably look to be very aggressive against VandeR and Celaver. We do see it already. He's just walking straight in, looking to fight against them.
And of course, it will give him the regen, so he can just step away, and he's making sure he can keep those basic attacks down. Maybe there's something they've worked out here, something with that aggressive style that Eduard always used to have. I distinctly remember having conversations with Crepo way back in 2013 about Eduard and his Doran Shield, something he was very, very vocal about.
It will sacrifice a little bit of sustain for Genja, because he doesn't have the Relic Shield, Eduard, to just give 50 HP over to Genja if he takes some poke. But because he's Caitlyn, he will stay far back and should be fine by himself, trading against Celaver. And Gambit already pushing down his bottom lane very aggressively, constantly looking to just poke between Eduard and VandeR. And Diamond, of course, taking his blue buff, just looking to start farming away. So nothing really happened yet. Standard lanes. This mid lane, however, is going to be very interesting to see how much Overpow can actually do against a Ziggs in lane.
Both junglers potentially making their way in. Nick's being cautious. Of course, you see Diamond nearby. Jankos is just off the race. It doesn't look like he wants to get involved, though. And it is Nick just being very cautious indeed. Overpow's going to play this one passive, I feel, in the mid lane to begin with, until he starts feeling he's getting that damage, and then it's just going to pile on Nick. That flash is going to be so vital for that Ziggs.
He played the teleport fizz against SK Gaming, where it was Freddy who played Yorick, and they started split pushing against each other after the laning phase. Freddy actually won the first fight, but then Overpow went back, brought a Void Staff and just killed him and took full control of the map. So Rocket is looking to do the same here. Just wait for both Xaxus and Overpow to pick up items. They don't really need to force anything here in this early mid game. They can just get farm, get their key items, and then look to actually impact the map.
Okay, so we see our first back. It was down in the bottom lane actually. Genja went to buy and get himself that second Doran's Blade. We'll keep our eye on that one at the moment. I want to talk about this top lane on your screens right now. Xaxus up against Kubon. Maokai versus Mundo, as you mentioned at the start. Tank versus Tank, and Jankos looking to try and create an advantage for Rocket.
So Kubon is staying very, very far back. He just farming with his cleaver. Jankos will actually go in. Not exactly an easy gang to pull off because Kubon was thinking so far back. They do actually get a Cocoon.
Got Cocoon and forced the flash out of Kubon. That was a potentially a little bit early, but it's better to be safe, I guess.
So I think here Kubon wanted to drag Xaxus under the tower and force him to flash away. But because the new W here on Maokai is a bit faster than the old one, he couldn't actually do it in time. It is a cool thing about Maokai top lane. It's very, very good for setting up ganks because you can just walk straight up, land your W, snare them, and apply the slow. However, this time, because Kubon was so far back, he does stay alive. And Nick, trading with Overpow, he's one level ahead because he has a bigger minion wave, but shouldn't be an issue for Overpow to farm. He still has his teleport as well and a health potion left.
Yeah, you just saw a little bit of aggression from Overpow there. Of course, he has got that crystalline flask. He won't be out of charges now. Eddie starting to put a little pressure down. Boots, second item for Eduard. Gonna keep our eye on this build, see where he's going with this Thresh this time around.
So we often see supports get a very early Moby Boots and focus on roaming around the map here and make plays. Eduard taking some damage here actually. Not too much, the Doran shield will help.
Yeah, not a good trade though for him. There was nothing going back in the way of Rocket. Still no first blood. We are only just approaching the 6-minute mark. Eddie keeping that river very much warded out. Genja keeping a pretty good farm with Celaver, but Celaver is going to be weaker at this phase of the game.
He definitely needs a few levels he wants to complete. Most likely his Trinity Force as the first item. He already has the longsword into a Phage, which will make him very, very strong in just quick trades, because you get your Sheen, you get your proc from it, and then you back away. Nick though, putting some pressure in this mid lane and up this top lane here. Kubon actually winning the lane here. The first time we see Kubon winning his lane in the 4 games we've seen him.
Yeah, that was good pressure actually. Forced Overpow back. He's gone back and bought the Sheen, so we'll see how that works out now. Teleport back to lane. Keep your eyes on that one. He's about to hit level 6. There is the 6th level. Diamond will get spotted out. There is a ward just down there. Xaxus himself went back. He's moved towards the catalyst, it seems. So it's going to go a lot of ages for item for him on Maokai. 100% there you go.
100% Rod of Ages.
Which is of course why Kubon building towards that with the Negatron cloak. So completely building towards it. Eddie, sidestep in there. It was a very, very slow sidestep of the Dark. Celaver caught out, hooked in. Eddie goes in, but that was a good quick reaction. Black Shield from VandeR prevents himself getting flayed.
And again, a very, very good trade by Rocket. Yes, the hook landed onto Celaver, but instantly, as the hook landed, Black Shield was there to make sure he didn't actually get knocked back and could just do all the damage onto Eduard here, forcing him away. And once again, Gambit actually losing the trade down this bottom lane here. One thing we do have to talk about is all the magic damage on the side of Rocket here. Even your support does full magic damage. You have your jungler doing magic damage. Maokai as well, all magic damage. Celaver, bit of a mix between them, will do more physical damage in the late game points, but still, there is some magic damage involved, so Gambit can focus a lot on magic resist and make it very hard for Overpow to kill anyone in a one-on-one, or just in teamfights in general, and also make it very hard for Xaxus to have much of a damage impact.
Overpow gets himself his first blue buff of the game for Rocket. Diamond, meanwhile, forces up at the red buff because he went blue second, which is where Nick will be acquiring his shortly. We'll see whether anyone tries to get involved and cause any problems for him.
So Diamond actually involved his W as the very, very first thing he did as he hit level 6 here. So looking to hold and of course get the extra slow from the W here.
Oh, here we go.
Overpow jumping onto Nick.
Jumping straight in there. Good satchel charge from Nick though, immediately replying. Overpow tries to playful trickster onto him, didn't quite catch on, gets a little poke. And Nick is very much safe from that one. He's going to get himself that blue buff, very much well received for him. Of course, he went with the chalice, he's building towards that Fiend's standard start for Xix.
So just going back to Diamond here, evolving his W. Gambit is really looking to just poke and siege. You have Xix poke, you now have Diamond with his W, hitting multiple members, you have Genja and Caitlyn, of course. There's so much poke and range now from Gambit. They can basically look to group as a team, go down towards the tower. If Rocket wants to engage, you just instantly disengage from Gambit here. Caitlyn can jump away. She has a slow. You have the slow from Ziggs. You have slow from Cleavers from Kubon. Again, now also the slow from Diamond. Everyone from Gambit here can slow down Rocket and make sure to disengage and then go back to the tower and just keep poking again and again and again.
Jankos going to get spotted out. That ward went down. Dark Binding does not land. Eddie once again sidesteps that one. And that's going to be another failed attempt from Jankos. He's going to have to go back to the drawing board. As you mentioned, most first bloods for junglers. He very much
everyone.
For everyone. Well, in fact, both North America and EU as well, that is. We saw Kubon using that sadism in that top lane, in that ultimate, just to keep him in lane a little bit longer, of course, against Xaxus. Who himself is Maokai ultimate, very different now, sticks to him, doesn't go in one particular spot. Diamond looking to counter. They knew that Jankos was nearby, but he's headed back to the jungle to keep the farm going. And pretty passive opening farm lane phase from both these teams with the first 10 minutes.
Very passive. Nobody really been going for any dives, so we've seen very few ganks as well. But for Gambit, because they do want to run the siege poke comp, they really need to be careful they don't lose the first dragon or pick a wrong fight, because if they do fall behind...
Well, at the moment...
Sorry, my voice just cracked here.
That's okay. That's why I'm...
yeah, so if Gambit falls behind, Rocket can always engage onto them or try, and therefore force them away from towers and make sure they can never group as a team. Because how do you stop a siege comp? You make sure they never group up. You force them out in different lanes. You just beat them 1-on-1, 2-and-2, and don't let them get in as a team. So if Gambit does fall behind, could really smell trouble, especially because they have nobody who can actually kill Overpow.
Genja just using that ace in the hole to try and burn down some of the health of Rocket. Obviously not going to create any advantages with that. So at the moment it is all about lane farm, lane-wise. Still pretty even towards them. Dragon could well be an objective that these teams start thinking about now. You can see that pink ward's being pressured and immediately Gambit move in to defend it. Quickly reacted to this one. Jankos needs to be careful. That pink ward was cleared and taken down. Overpow, look at this, just waiting off at the side there. I think he realizes both nearby. Nick's going to face check straight in towards him. He's going to eat a shark. It's a giant earth this time around, of course. And he will do nothing.
And Overpow didn't want to follow. He knew Diamond was nearby. So just got the flash out of Nick. Well, good enough for him. He needs to be careful here, though. Slow landing from Diamond as well. They're going for it.
Good satchel charge. Flashes from both of them. Overpow taking low on this one. Playful tricks are not available. And Nick just burns him down with the bomb.
So Overpow, he used his ult here. Nick didn't want to follow because he knew Diamond was nearby. And instantly as he comes back to the lane, he jumps Nick and doesn't expect Diamond to stay around. Silly, silly play, Mr. Overpow. Giving up first blood now. Perfect for Gambit over to Nick. The guy who's really been playing well for them.
We talked about the evolved W there. I can never remember the damn name of it. The evolved W, nevertheless, is obviously what slowed him down there. So Rocket still favourites despite the good start here from Gambit. It is only 11 minutes gone and now Eddie's in trouble. Teleport comes down. Xaxus is going to get on towards him. Edward will go down. It's Overpow. Tell a lie. Teleports in and gets himself a free kill.
And instantly Rocket now moving towards the Dragon. We talked about how Xaxus could do it. He could TP to this bottom lane, get a kill and go Dragon. When you have two TPs, it doesn't really matter who does it. Very nice setup here by VandeR. Dragon for Rocket, getting the goal lead, despite Overpow dying in this mid lane before.
Well, this is something, of course, Gambit have had a problem with over the last few weeks. Now Nick again getting pounced on by Overpow. This time around, Satchel charges away to great success. But we want to talk about that Dragon stats because Gambit have just been suffering from that one. And it's something they used to be known for. They used to dominate that Dragon.
They used to actually be the #1 team in Europe at getting Dragons earlier in the season here. But it's just not been working. Last week where they played Fnatic and Alliance, they didn't pick up a single Dragon. They only picked up one tower as well, so there was no objective goal, no global goal for Gambit as a team, and it means everyone simply suffers for it. And it's been too easy for the other teams to set up one kill, get the Dragon, and then just go back to lanes and just wait for Gambit to do something, and then Gambit will just stay and farm in the laning phase, wait for the next Dragon, and if they end up losing the next one as well, they simply fall too far behind and won't be able to do anything. Last week we talked about how Gambit, on average, at 20 minutes, since they made roster changes, has been behind 5,400 gold. This game around here, 13 minutes in, they are behind, but not exactly 5,000 yet.
Yet, but could go that way. At the moment, it's only 1,500. Diamond will get a ward and cover out. Overpow taking away those wraiths. Thought about having a peek towards that pink ward, but that's Overpow doing a successful defense. Diamond roaming, cleans himself. Pink one, of course, it's a small victory for Gambit when they've already lost that dragon, but it's enough to set the crowd alight. So let's have a peek across the items, because Jankos actually has gone for a double Ruby Crystal.
Double Ruby Crystal. So want some early combat stats here. Want some tankiness. We often see different ideas with new release. Haunting Guys is an item we see a few times.
There we go.
Well, you say here we go. Nothing really happened, but at least they used the ultis, they hit each other in the face and just backed away.
As I've mentioned many times in the past, two fat lads from Grimsby fighting it out, and that's exactly what's going on in that top lane. They are not going to kill each other. It would take a very, very, very long fight for Xaxus and Kubon to take each other down.
Yeah. Nice thing for Kubon, however, when you're against double AP or 5 AP or 4.5 AP, you can get a Spirit Visage early on Dr. Mundo. It's basically your key item. Makes your ulti even better. Good enough start for Kubon up here, been farming really well, and we all know how annoying a Dr. Mundo can be in his late game points.
Tower pressure here from ROC, but that's going to be the Mega Inferno Bomb. It landed actually on Celaver and Jankos. They didn't follow up on this one because nobody managed to get hooked in there. We did have Diamond nearby, but he will back away, but nevertheless, Tower was successfully held.
Everyone's simply returning just to farm. Rocket did put some pressure on this bottom lane. Very good ult to make the play down. They actually, Jankos stays in this bottom lane, so they want to take this tower here and push Gambit even further up and then possibly go mid lane with someone like Celaver to try and take the next tower. It's going to be hard though against Nick and all his waves there.
Well, and Diamond, more importantly, of course. He's got the, as you mentioned, the Void Spikes evolved. Yeah, they're going to wipe out this wave very quickly. Genja again, of course, just cleaning up, getting all those last hits. He's keeping him just slightly ahead of Celaver, but Jankos is not backing away from this fight.
Simply staying, and it means at least Xaxus and Overpow, they know where Diamond is because he constantly walks down to this bottom lane to wave clear. There's no pressure on the solo lanes at the moment for both teams because Jankos as well is in this bottom lane. Will be a tower now for Rockets. So let's see if they want to send Celaver mid lane afterwards with Jankos and start.
Well, if you took a note of the mini-map there, you can see Diamond, of course, he'd snuck away to get the wall, so maybe a little bit too greedy there. Wasn't expecting Jankos to try and stick around for, I think, 3 or 4 waves, which he finally got that tower down. Nonetheless, it is a tower, and ROC have themselves now a 2,000 gold lead. Speaking of gold lead, Kubon in that top lane has started to dominate. He's got 20 CS advantage over Xaxus, who's had to go back again, but of course he's going to be slightly delayed on his power spike, if you can call it that, for Maokai with the Rod of Ages. And we do see, of course, now Celaver, along with Jankos, actually heading towards that top lane.
Okay, so gonna focus on the top lane here. Genja is still in this bottom lane. Kubon is actually recalling with
VandeR's gone down bottom, so they're leaving Celaver on his own now in that top lane. He's got the support, the backup of Jankos, just in case I think Kubon is around. But it seems that they are
also
both
just
going to
push
stick
it.
up there, yeah.
Yeah, they're just gonna push it in again here. Double range, some decent wave clear as well. Just constantly pushing the waves here. Jankos needs to be careful.
Jankos face check and gets hooked in. Eddie's on there. Teleport comes down. Jankos is going to repel, but he's got nowhere to run. Kubon came a little too late to that party. Didn't manage to get himself the assist. It's the second kill for Gambit.
All right, 2 kills for Gambit here. Diamond was in the right place at the right time. Same for Eduard, actually. He moved from this bottom lane, or from the base, sorry, straight to the top lane. He expected something to happen here from Rocket and was in a very, very good position. Dragon in 1 minute, so Gambit wasn't able to get any objective gold from the kill. We'll at least get some wards.
Well, it's a triple kill for Diamond on wards, at least, put it that way. So he's continuing to clear that jungle very fast now. He's trying to step up that rate, but he is behind on Jankos in terms of CS, and it's a fairly substantial number, but of course he has that kill and assist, which does keep him close. It's only a 100 gold differential between those two junglers. VandeR started to roam a bit here, hasn't been around with his AD carry, who is now currently going down towards that bottom lane. Overpow's the man we need to keep our eyes on, because he's going to start looking to split push.
So Kubon used the teleport before to try and join in for the kill on Jankos, which means he's now stuck in his top lane. Dragon, 18 seconds. Xaxus can join in with his teleport, and Mundo has no way of stopping him. So Rocket can just look to group up, force it, and if Gambit does decide to fight, turn it quickly into a 5 versus 4.
Yeah, I think they're going to move down, clear out this wave, and head straight on down there. Celaver's already moving into position. Kubon is heading down, so Gambit have the timer on this one this time around. Eddie gets himself in position. It's a dangerous position to be in, though, but he does get the ward clearance, importantly, on that bush. 5 members of Gambit down here, and of course, he does leave that top lane exposed. Xaxus takes down the turret and can teleport and join in. He's going to shove the wave on towards that top tower and then join the party down here.
So it was a very smart move by Rocket. First to send Celaver top, but as soon as the teleport from Kubon was used, they took Celaver and moved him down towards the dragon and put Xaxus with his teleport up in his top lane to stay in one-on-one. Gambit, they are starting the dragon here. TB coming in, Xaxus very far behind, however.
It's a fast dragon, and Diamond manages to outsmite Jankos there, who both winning. It's a fight between the two. Pops his stealth, gets himself a little bit of stealth cover. Xaxus moves in, Mega Inferno Bomb goes in towards there. Nice Diamond, pulls Xaxus into his team. I'm not sure they wanted that with his ultimate running. And Gambit are on the retreat here, but Rocket are very, very low. Eddie gets caught out, he will go down. It's still only a 1-for-0. Remember, Gambit got
not in range.
That
Overpow's behind them.
Dragon coming around the side, up towards it. There we go, just pounding into the screen. Overpow cannot get close enough. Jump the waters. Oh, it doesn't matter because Genja gets caught out. That's the AD carry down. And it's a 2-for-0. Can they take the tower?
It is such a strong combo when you have Elise and Morgana. Again, land Cocoon, land the Binding, the next follow, and you just lock down targets for the rest of Rocket to kill them so easily here. Bit of a messy team fight at first. Xaxus joining with his teleport way behind the rest of Rocket, but still managed to get in range of Diamond. And Diamond actually jumped while Xaxus was onto him, pulled him into the rest of the team, and Rocket could just start chasing here. Was a dragon, however, to Gambit, so they get some gold from it.
Yeah, relatively even in gold. 2 kills, a lot of assists compared to the Dragon. So overall, wasn't a great deal of change between the two teams. Of course, it's still only a 2.5k advantage, though. If Gambit can shove this wave in, get themselves onto this tower early. Jankos takes a big burst of damage there from Nick. He's got to be careful. Eddie doesn't fancy throwing out a hook here. Instead, he's going to be the Lantern to get him away from VandeR, who closes the gap.
It seems the teams now moving back to the lanes, but now Rocket actually decides to send Overpow to this bottom lane. Did the same thing against SK Gaming. Once the laning phase ended, once he got some items or some gold, they did send Overpow to this bottom lane and kept Xaxus in the other lane. And just put Celaver in his mid lane. Just sit and farm by himself. Simple. He still has his mid tower, so should be fairly safe and can now just farm, keep pushing in. If Overpow kills someone by himself, Gambit needs to send a member to defend the lane. Overpow is in, and therefore opens up for the rest of Rocket to either take the mid tower or the top tower.
Well, look at this. Grouping around Overpow. Ace in a hole will land. Eddie and Diamond stealths in around the side. Oh, he doesn't land the slow. Tries to jump on towards him. Jump the waters. Lands on Diamond. And Overpow, I think he's got away from this one quite clean.
They did actually manage it. Oh, Nick in trouble.
Nick in very much trouble there, but I'm not too sure Celaver wants to go too deep on that one. The bouncing bomb will come in. Black Shield protects him. The turret went down actually to the minions, so despite all that, Gambit come out ahead.
Yeah, so actually a good move by Gambit. They pushed out mid lane first, and then they sent all the members to this bottom lane to try and kill Overpow, and kept Nick in his mid lane to just wave clear in case it was needed. So while they didn't get a kill, at least they forced a summon out of Overpow, and did actually get mid tower, because Rocket were just looking to help Overpow, moved every single member to him instead of wave clearing the mid lane.
Well, Diamond still continuing to try and find a game. Neither of these junglers have been overly successful. Good warning, honestly, from both these teams, spotting out the trouble early on. Kubon tries to shove that wave in, but Xaxus will successfully defend that turret. A little bouncing bomb thrown to Overpow. This mid lane turret may well be the next focus, but Nick will not have too many problems clearing that wave. He gets the pouncing help of Diamond as well.
And every single time Rocket push up this mid lane, Diamond will jump over the wall from Wraith, just use his W, try and wave clear with Nick here, and force Rocket away. They did, however, get some damage on the tower, so just 1 or 2 more pushes, and they should be able to take it down, unless Nick wants to use his ult.
With all this wave clearing going on, of course, Nick has built himself up a healthy CS lead as well as a gold lead. He's 1,000 gold ahead right now. There's the Mega Inferno Bomb. That's going to wipe out the wave and give a big chunk of damage onto Celaver there. Black Shield does, Dark Binding, sorry, does not land on Eddie.
We did see, however, Celaver, he knew the minion wave was going to die, but he stayed just to get the Sheen proc from his Trinity Force onto the tower, and then he could back away. So another good thing about Trinity Force as the first item, if you do want to push early towers. And we did see all the focus on this bot lane by Jankos earlier to take down the tower, open up the map for Rocket to then send Celaver in a different lane and just start poking down these towers here. Yes, Nick can wave clear it, but just 1 hit every single time with your Sheen proc and the tower will go down. Slow, but will go down.
So right now it's all about who can put the most pressure on the map. Dragon up in 1.5 minutes, that will certainly be a pressure point. Top lane has been shoved a little bit here. Diamond goes in there, that's going to force Xaxus to try and counteract that one. We'll see whether Gambit do try and create something. And also, we're going to start looking towards items, because with a minute to go, big item spikes will start happening. Everybody's starting to hit the 1-2 item bracket.
we do see in Vintage on Genja here. Didn't actually get any attack speed items yet, except for his boots. But Gambit needs to get into this dragon area and put up some wards if they want to contest it, because they need to have full control of where Rocket is and then poke them before going into a team fight. You don't want to start dragon, let Rocket engage onto you, because then you will lose it. You need to poke, you need to get some good wards around it. We do see Eduard now moving in, putting up the wards. And if Rocket now moves in as a group and Gambit is ready, they can land so much poke, they can zone them so well with Ziggs, with Caitlyn, with the cleavers again, and with the W from Diamond. Get them low, get dragon, and then potentially look for a team fight.
Bunch of Sunfire capes being picked up by, of course, Xaxus and Kubon. They're going to be definitely the big tanks in this one. There is an interesting scrying warp. Celaver getting positional advantage, and Rocket actually the ones that have actually got themselves in the river, but they backed out.
So Gambit, they moved in, they put up a lot of wards, and just moved away.
Just didn't defend them, yeah.
Didn't defend them at all. So Rocket now moved in, cleared the important ones, and can now stay around this dragon. And we didn't see any poke from Gambit. We didn't see anyone trying to stop them, except for Diamond staying around. And just wasn't enough. They didn't get any poke now. First cleaver from Kubon. They need a lot more.
Overpow also shoved in the bottom lane. Chum the Waters does not land. Teleport from Xaxus also pulled the trigger early there.
Alright, so it works.
And that's a problem. Rocket now burned quite a bit there.
And TP down, ulti from Overpow, and now Gambit feeling more confident, moving in as a team. Dragon is alive. And Rocket is very split up here. Celaver is all alone in this mid lane. Gambit can start the dragon.
Yeah, Nick is actually zoning him out. He does manage to get the tower down in that mid lane. Now Gambit caught her out there. Xaxus' ultimate also burned. Kubon caught this time with the Dark Binding. Middle turret down. Rocket got themselves a small advantage, and that dragon taken low. They're going to move in. It's going to be a smite fight. This time around, Jankos gets it. He gets hooked in, though. He will not be able to repel away from this one. Is he going to get flashed away? Yes, he does. And he gets home and dry.
And Rocket is simply just fooling Gambit here. First, Celaver is pushing mid lane. Nick goes back to try and stop him. The rest of Gambit start the dragon, and as soon as Rocket move in towards them, they just back away. Run away from this dragon here, and Rocket take it. So easy for Rocket to force Gambit away, get a dragon, get the mid tower, and also disengage afterwards, because nobody was really low enough for Gambit to actually chase and try and take someone down with the long range they have.
Yeah, there was also a giant wave that was shoved in down that bottom lane that Overpow would have pushed in, and that would have been a lot of CS wasted crashing against the tower. Overpow back down here once again. Didn't really land with a Playful Trickster. I think he wanted to wipe out that bottom wave, but he's going to back away. So Gambit started to trail behind in gold here, and this is a danger warning. Big flag starting to set up for Gambit. The pressure very much on them in this game to pick up their first win over Rocket in the summer split. Keep their hopes and dreams of the World Championships alive.
In terms of gold, it's been the best game for Gambit we have seen in a few weeks. I mean, still fairly close to Rocket here. 26 minutes in. They have lost the dragons, or at least they lost the last one and lost the outer turrets, but still, they are in the game, they're farming. Nick especially is farming really well. Kubon in the laning phase did well against Xaxus. Now falling behind a little bit, with just a few CS, doesn't really matter too much. And Genja as well, I mean, they're keeping even with Celaver, so it's the first game in a few weeks where Gambit has actually been doing well in the laning phase, getting all the farm they needed. They just need to play better around the map, because it's been too easy for Rocket to get objectives, get outer turrets.
Gambit now looking to focus towards this Baron area. There's a good wall placement from Rocket in and around there, so they have managed to clear it out. A lot of pinks actually on the map coming out from Rocket, which will get cleared. Diamond is in there. He's got to be careful he doesn't get caught with that Dark Binding, and they start the Baron off. Vander gets a few cheeky hits on Diamond there. Took a fair bit more than he planned. Not too sure that Black Shield's going to stop any of the ace in the hole.
So Rocket is only staying around this Baron to buy time for Overpow to push his bottom lane with his teleport, and just make sure Gambit stays around and nobody's there to actually try and stop him. Kubon is up in his top lane. He's the guy with teleport from Gambit. He needs to go down to this bottom lane, start trying to deal with Overpow. He won't be able to kill him, but at least he can try and stay on the tower and get some minions. Nick could be forced to use his ulti here.
Yeah,
this massive wave.
I think Mega Inferno Bomb may well be thrown down. No, looks like he's just going to move on down and cover it himself. Well, almost giving up on it. That's because there's pressure around the Baron from Jankos.
Now, Kubon did actually recall, so he will go down to this bottom lane and try and stop Overpow from taking the tower. And Overpow didn't get a Void Staff yet. So Kubon is a very, very tanky Dr. Mundo here. They can just look to push it up. If they do manage to get the teleport out of Kubon, it really spells trouble for them.
Well, we heard from Rocket earlier on. They've talked in the past about how they don't take risks when they absolutely don't need to, and the moment, Gambit are not pressuring them in any way, so they are happy to let this game just go slow, go long, let Celaver become this insane cogmore that he knows he can become, and of course Overpow going to start stacking out those items. Got himself the DFG now, so he will be looking to single pop the likes of Nick and Genja in this next fight.
And look at Diamond here. Full damage. Last Whisper early on, Brutalizer, armor penetration. Really looking to just poke and hurt as much as possible, and then he evolved his E, level 11, to jump in, get a reset if someone gets low. So again, Gambit, they need good wards, they need to be able to spot Rocket moving around, and then they need to land the poke if they want a team fight. If they do feel confident, they can start grouping up and pushing down towards the tower, but with teleports on the side of Rocket here, and with Rocket being ahead in gold, they can just TP in behind them, force a team fight, and Gambit will lose it. So now they're in a tricky situation. They're basically just farming, waiting for a moment where they can get some poke onto Rocket and then potentially get a tower or maybe a Baron if they do manage to pick up a few kills.
The problem is Gambit are playing passive.
They are.
They're not shoving towers. You know, they've got this great wave clear, which is great for defending, but you just saw Kubon. He just shoved that bottom wave down, immediately backs out. Overpow saying, thank you very much, I'll get myself a massive wave engulf and shove straight down there. Meanwhile, in the top lane, Genja again done the same. Xaxus immediately reacts, goes in there, teleports, didn't even use the teleport, sorry. And they're sitting on these two teleports. They can control Gambit, and that is exactly what they're doing right now.
Yep.
Gambit are just simply having to react to everything that Rocket did.
Again, we said earlier, Gambit, they can't afford to fall behind because then they suddenly can't group up as a team and just push down a tower because Rocket can always engage onto them and win the team fights. So Gambit is now basically forced to just sit and farm, try and get some key items onto Genja, onto Nick. When you have so much wave clear, you can extend the game and make sure we go to 40-50 minutes, pick up 5-6 items on all your members, except for the poor supports. And then look for these late game team fights, where again, with the lineup Gambit has, they do have a lot of late game potential here. Issue is, they don't have anyone who can deal with Overpow in the split push.
It seems that both these teams are happy to just play the passive game. They want to sit this one out and farm up as much as possible for that one big fight. And it's a dangerous game, honestly, for both these teams to play, and it is something they're clearly working towards. So let's look at it this way. You know, obviously, if both teams get their primary ideal engaged, they go straight at it in a 5v5. Who is likely to come out on top? Say, is it going to be down to, say, that big Mega Inferno Bomb hitting the right key targets?
So Gambit doesn't even want to engage. They just want to kite. They want Rocket to engage onto them and then just kite backwards, keep hitting the poke, because they don't really have any engagement on the lineup unless Eduard lands a hook and starts the fight. Otherwise, they're just looking to kite backwards. Diamond here. Oh, fish coming in from Overpow.
Oh, Chum the Waters will land this time around. Diamond in trouble. The lantern gets thrown out. He stealths away. Xaxus pulled in, goes in, gets himself the kill. He may pay the price with his own life, but he's a massive tanky monster, and he's keeping us alive. He's locking onto Nick. Nick's in trouble. He's going to get locked down. Tries to jump away. Will get caught out. Now Genja's going to be focused on, can he take the lantern? Yes. No. Just about. Caliber net back and forth. But that is Gambit absolutely out of the picture for this one. It's not going to be the Dragon focus. They're moving to Baron.
And Xaxus here with his W just followed Diamond through the entire map, and he's so tanky already. The two members recall, they both have teleports, so they can just join in for this Baron here. Genja's back in base. This should be an easy Baron for Rocket.
There's one teleport. Kubon's going to find him. It's Overpow. He can just flip and flop straight over towards the Baron, and this one will go down. We see Nick very low on hit points. He's got Mega Inferno Bomb. Can he go for the steal? Kubon's going to throw something out. No! Nick caught out. He goes down. Overpow gets the kill. Chum the Waters catches onto Kubon. He's the big tanky machine, but is he strong enough? He's got that sadism running. He can see it's taken everything from Rocket to try and shut him down. Baron was taken in amongst all of that as well, and Rocket continued to turn the pressure on, and Gambit are in real danger now.
Oh, Xaxus been hooked. Nope. Eduard doesn't really want to play with him. And we just see here why Maokai top lane, as long as you get the farm you need in the early game, becomes so strong in these team fights. He followed in, he was in between 4 members of Gambit, he just tanked everything, kept going, got the kill onto Diamond, moved on to next. We're just gonna see it again. Everything invested onto Diamond, but because he's stealth, Overpow can't actually jump him after DFG. Xaxus, however, he's like, I'm Superman, I'm just gonna follow you. Jump as well, gets the kill, stays in between all the members of Gambit here, taking a lot of damage, but not enough. And then next snare comes in, easy binding from Jankos. Binding, or easy cocoon, of course, from Jankos. Chase up here, binding on to Genja now. Another snare from Xaxus. You just have chain CC constantly from this lineup. so annoying to play against.
They absolutely locked up Gambit there, and it's working well for them. So, get themselves a dragon. They did get Baron in there. My eyes didn't deceive me. Of course, so Rocket stats should have one Baron on there, but most importantly, they have themselves a pretty big lead now over Gambit built up. So 7,000 gold lead, and of course, item-wise, and the stats that Baron does give you. Let's see what they do with it. They've been playing very passively, not been pushing those waves out, but now let's see if they can start shoving in, because there is great wave clear in the hands of Gambit, so they should be able to defend their towers pretty successfully.
They should actually be able to hold off Rocket for some time, especially because Xaxus and Overpow both use the teleport to take the Baron. So they are now going to stay in the lanes, push them up, and then either move in with the rest of the team, try to go 5-man, maybe dive Gambit on the tower here, or we're just looking for Overpow to find this one kill by himself. It is Kubon against him, and still no Void Staff on the side of Overpow, so shouldn't be able to kill him, please not, by himself.
Well, it's currently a 3v3 setting up. Xaxus shoves that wave in the mid lane. Is actually may get caught out of position. Diamond's gone on towards him. We're not quite keeping our eye on it. There is Xaxus. He's going to go turn aggressive. Remember, Diamond all about the aggression. Nick throwing out the bombs, and Rocket taking some punishment here, despite the fact they have got the Baron ill. Gambit are quite happy to engage them in that jungle. Kubon, of course, keeping Overpow busy down in that bottom lane, which is why he's not getting involved in this one. As you mentioned, no teleports available. Good pressure. Celaver gets himself a couple of free shots on the tower, and Gambit hold for now.
Hold for now, but still, every time you take some damage onto a tower here, it simply means one more wave, two more waves, and it will go down. Because Celaver, he's not afraid to walk in. Hit it with the Sheen. We talked about it earlier. Again, boom, get a few hits, backs away as soon as Gambit moves in. And oh, Diamond might be in trouble here.
That tower's gone. They're going to get shredded away. Gambit back away from it. Kubon still keeping Overpow busy now in the mid lane, having to wipe out that wave. But Rocket, they're all rotating around. 5 members straight in there. They're going to get around the back side, and this is going to be the inner turret going down in the mid lane now.
Oh, Diamond almost died. Oh, Jankos hooked in.
Not going to follow that one up. That would be a very risky
Jankos
move.
says no.
There's the tower going down, so that's 2 more inner turrets for Rocket. They do take advantage of that Baron buff.
Going for the very last one down this bottom lane. Need to wait at least for the minions. Perfect timing actually on the blue buff.
Well, they can press tab now and look at the timers.
True.
They know when it's coming up. See, taking advantage of that one. Even the pro players can use that timer. So, big wave comes in, tower getting poked. Dark Binding does not catch, but nonetheless, it's the 3rd inner turret. Successful Baron usage.
Picked up every single outer turret now. All about the base, where Gambit can now move between the lanes very, very fast and get or try and wave clear. Didn't really work for them on the outer ones here. They were too afraid of Rocket either diving onto them, or simply because they knew they couldn't actually hold the tower. It was just a matter of time. So now all about the base from Gambit. Picked up 1 tower, same that it picked up last week in the 2 games. And I don't think they're gonna get more.
Yeah, big spike, of course, from Overpow. He got the Zhonya's just asked to get in that Baron. Now he's got the Void Staff on there as well. So a massive amount of burst damage available from Overpow. He's going to get himself a blue buff as well. We did see the Ziggs bomb coming out a moment ago on towards the opposition blue buff for Gambit. Didn't quite catch it in time. Well off, in fact, on that timing. So everybody from Rocket goes back, purchases some giant items, and now have a 12,000 gold advantage. And, you know, Nick had a gold advantage for a long period of time over Nick in that mid lane, but Overpow now leads it. Of course, he's got himself a 1,000 gold swing back in his favor. So Nick, despite the fact he's got great wave clear, has so far not been too successful at keeping them off the turrets.
Well, it's been very hard for Gambit to force Rocket away in time. Couldn't really instant clear the wave, and there was always the risk of this Xaxus going on the tower and just picking whatever target he wants to. Break the Banshee from Nick, and he can go straight towards him. Doesn't even matter if he tries to flash away. You will still follow him, as we saw earlier with Diamond. Lock him down, rest of the team can follow, land a binding, land a cocoon, and you do have a dead target. The poke from Diamond here, the idea
Already
in a siege drop.
Oh, that's the flash.
Forced away here, but again, the poke from Diamond, it doesn't really do any damage on the Rocket.
Yeah, when the bouncing bombs miss, it's not going to wave clear too well either. Genja caught out Dark Binder. They don't choose to follow this one up. Well, it's only a matter of time. Meanwhile, down the bottom lane, Kubon is having to do a jostle, and Kubon in trouble here. Overpow does go in. DFG was used. Remember, Zhonya's Hourglass available for Overpow if he needs it. Kubon is going to successfully defend. Sadie's on there.
Oh,
Overpow
got away.
thought about going back in on that one, but Kubon holds on for now. But that was just about everything, and the kitchen sink thrown at him.
And Void Stuff was completed by Overpow, so he went aggressive, going in again.
Playful tricks away. Again, Tower not able to hit him. Keeps landing that urgent strike on him. Moment though, Rocket are going to back away. So 40-second timers on the Baron, 15 seconds on the Dragon. Of course, that is now probably Rocket's objectives. They have full control of this map. Not a lot of wards out there because frankly they don't need them because they can see where Gambit are. They are all shoved in the base.
Still, didn't actually manage to take down a tower, even though they've been staying in this top lane for some time. Now basically waiting for objectives. Hoping Gambit will move out of the base, go towards the Baron to try and steal it or stop Rocket from doing it, and then Rocket can engage onto them, force the team fight, and hopefully for Rocket, win the game. We do see Overpow down his bottom lane again, gonna push it up, wait for someone like Kubon to show himself, try and one-on-one him, and then if he does kill him or gets him very low, he can then TP in to the Baron here. And Gambit did actually move out of the base. They want to stay around here and try and stop Rocket from doing a Baron.
Pressure very much on Gambit here. They tried to shove out the lanes. They are leaving Overpow very much exposed in that bottom lane. If he gets on that tower, he will do a heck of a lot of damage, but they can't run the risk of losing another Baron to Rocket, which is why they're sticking around in this mid lane, trying to keep Rocket active and on their toes, but with those double teleports, the split push is really causing a serious problem. Kubon again, the only one that goes down to deal with it.
Jankos.
Not going to work out for him. VandeR takes a good bit of poke, not a lot. It's in a hole, blocked off by a gigantic tank of Xaxus.
So Rocket were just waiting for VandeR to bring the pink ward, clear everything Gambit actually puts down, and just waiting around here again. Overpow still in his bottom lane, and we are waiting for a move.
So Gambit, what are they going to do? How are they going to get themselves out of this horrific situation of potentially being out of playoffs? It means we won't see a Gambit at Worlds. Currently it's looking almost certain. We do see the Baron started off. Rocket going in towards it. They've taken it down to half health already. 7,000 hit points. Oh, Diamond caught out. That's going to be problems. Lancer was thrown out. He flashed the opposite direction. And that means Diamond is getting all sorts of trouble. Gets himself a giant heal there. Nick comes up. Overpow does manage to use the Zhonyas, but he will get the kill onto Diamond. We see Genja going down. Rocket making all sorts of problems. And Gambit are sinking without a trace here. They've been so passive throughout the game. Xaxus continues to chase. He's just happy to taunt Gambit and pressure them into their base. Look at the damage on Nick there. Celaver putting the pressure down. It's a 3-for-0. Baron's not on their minds now. Winning the game is.
They just need to get into the base here, kill the tower so they can move in afterwards. They don't even need the Baron. They are so strong. We see it again. They're just waiting for Gambit to move too close to the Baron and engage, win the fight, and now go towards the base of Gambit.
Well, we talked about they're getting a single turret last week. They've only got one in this game, and it doesn't look like they're going to get much more. The inhibitor will go down. Rocket will step away after this. I think they're going to move straight for that Baron.
So they at least open up the base now. Got super minions in this mid lane. Can then focus on doing the same thing they actually did for the last 10 minutes before they went to the Baron. 4 members in top lane, Overpow in his bottom lane. Going on to Diamond. Again, the stealth. Makes it very hard for Xaxus to actually get onto him. And Overpow on his back here going towards Genja. He missed the ult, hit onto Eduard. Didn't manage to kill Genja instantly, but the rest of Rocket is there to take him down. And there's no damage on the side of Gambit. It's all about poking first. As long as Rocket can always engage, nothing Gambit can do in these fights.
Bouncing bomb's not quite enough to take away that Baron. No messing with the smite there from Jankos. Secures that one, the second Baron of the game for Rocket. On those 3 out of 4 dragons, so big gold advantage for Rocket. Base, as you mentioned, opened up for Gambit now. Wave clear no longer really going to be enough. They have to start trying to create a play here. They have to do something desperate, I feel, is required for Gambit. The pressure of the situation, of course, this means they will effectively be relegated. They're going to have to fight for their way back in towards the LCS promotion-wise if they lose this game.
And the important thing to note is, because they are the bottom team in the table, they don't have a choice between who they want to face in promotion tournament. So So they could end up with what looks like 8-2K at the moment. But it's very hard to say. We, of course, have the Challenger Finals coming very soon, where we can actually see who the best Challenger team is and who potentially will face Gambit in the promotion tournament.
Yeah, long way to go for that, of course, all to happen. That will be happening over the next couple of weeks. Long way to go, but right now, ROC continuing. Eduard just gets melted by Jankos. That's the jungler just destroying him. Nick gets taken down. Sonya's Hourglass, not enough. Overpow pops his own. Kubon gets dropped in a matter of seconds. And ROC completely cleaning up here against Gambit. This is not a problem for them. It looks like they're going to be taking a 4-0 victory over Gambit. Something that honestly, if you'd have told them back in the spring when they qualified for the LCS, they would have thought it was impossible. But it seems that Gambit will be going out of the LCS. They will not make it to the playoffs. And ROC will indeed look to try and secure that 6th spot. It's a great victory for them, but it's a terrible, terrible loss for Gambit.
Very safe game again by ROC. They're not taking any chances. They knew they were just waiting for Overpow to get some items, so he became strong in the one-on-ones and just played the laning phase really well. Got the first dragon, returned to the lanes, kept just farming, getting the outer turrets away, extended the goal lead, and safe play by ROC. Then didn't actually feel like they had to do something special to win.
No pressure at all, honestly. 11-2 the end scoreline for the kills. And gigantic advantage. They did get themselves a 2nd turret, so they've got 2 turrets.
Oh,
okay. That's a good count for them. But Gambit, it's a long way from the old Empire, Moscow Fire that we used to see going so aggressive. See hero, kill hero. Now it's see hero, run away from hero, and it's a big problem, honestly.
It is,
and it's something, you know, me myself as seeing a strong, aggressive Gambit of the past. It's something I don't like to see. You know, this was a team that was great to commentate because they were always so openly aggressive and in your face, and right now they've just sat so passively for the entire split, and it's very much a change in contrast. Whether the meta just simply hasn't suited their team, nobody's just maybe moved to it. And, you know, it's our question of the day, talking about what team has changed, what player, what team has reacted best to the patch change tiers. Gambit absolutely is not one of them.
Definitely not. And it's just been downhill for Gambit for a long time. I mean, they talked about how they always had issues as a team. Alex was very vocal about it, one of the reasons he left. Eduard left to join Curse as well, if we think back to last year. So there's always been some issues. Now it just seems like the issues got the best of Gambit. And it's not over yet. Still a promotion tournament, they can re-qualify to the LCS.
Absolutely. It's a tough one, though.
Of course, it's always tough. It's never fun to go and play relegation. You sit with the pressure because you know, if I lose here, my job is potentially gone.
And of course, with that loss, Gambit become the first team to be eliminated from the playoff contention this split. They can still, of course, overtake the Copenhagen Wolves for a better seed in the promotion, but that is about it.
Yeah, and they need to win like 4 games now. And with the way they're playing, I don't see them beat 4 teams in the Super Week. I mean, it's so hard for them to get the wins. They need, okay, 2 wins behind Copenhagen Wolves, but still, you need to start picking up some wins. We're going into Super Week where everyone is just going to be full on prepared because it's all about getting the best seed before playoffs.
And of course, the Wolves are looking better these days. They are, of course, playing the next match. They will be up against Millennium. It's going to be a tricky game for them. But for now, let's talk about the winners. Of course, let's throw it over to Shox, who is standing by with Xaxus from ROC.
Thank you very much, D-Man. I'm Efi Shox, joined here by Xaxus, who played Maokai in that last game versus Gambit. Talk us through when you decided to pick that and what it offers in a game.
Well, to be honest, Maokai is really good right now. I would say it's 2nd best pick at the top lane, right after Gragas. And I didn't really care versus who I will play. I just knew that it's really good pick right now.
Well, obviously you can train it in scrims, but then you're in an actual LCS match. Then tell me how it played out versus Mundo in that lane and in the team fights where you played a crucial role.
Well, Maokai isn't that good at lane versus Mundo. He's pretty decent versus Irelia or Jax because of his sustain, but versus Mundo I cannot do anything, just harass him a bit. But in the team fights I'm pretty much immortal, how could we see later on. And that's his job, just root people and being immortal.
Absolutely. As you go in further on the look for that playoff spot, how is the meta treating you right now in the top lane? We know you like playing those tanks, but it is opening up right now. How does that treat you?
Well, yeah, I prefer playing tanks. I do like AP champions, but they are not my best. I don't feel that good on them. I like playing Jax, Irelia, and Sons. I mean, the top meta is pretty fine right now because you can play pretty much anything like tanks, APs, assassins even. So I like it.
All right, well, thank you very much and good luck in your upcoming games. All right, we have to take a quick break to check if any of our players isn't a Doombot in disguise. But when we come back, we're going to break down this game, and Millennium takes on the Copenhagen Wolves.
Go Gambit, go Gambit.
Watch on the waters will land this time around. Diamond in trouble. The lantern gets thrown out. He stealths away. Xaxus pulled in, goes in, gets himself the kill. Overpow does manage to use the Zhonya's, but he will get the kill onto Diamond. We see Genja going down. Rocket making all sorts of problems. But right now, Rocket continuing. Eduard just gets melted by Jankos. That's the jungler just destroying him.